and I just say yes at that moment. When do I become fearful, or when do I become hesitant? Because I know that I'm going to say yes. I want to really observe us, because I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to take an objective look at what I'm doing and try to interrupt my pattern the best I can. Because we're 15 years in on this, on my behavior here. And I need to take a good look at where we are now, where I am now, why I'm stuck in this place where I cannot say no. And is it really worth continuing this pattern? Hi, guys. If you're new here, this is Parenting Through ASD, and I'm Wendy. I am a parent to a severely autistic teen boy and a developmental psychologist. And today's vlog, we're going to talk a little bit about my parenting style. And I have a video about different parenting styles on my series on educational videos around parenting an autistic child. So you can check it over there if you want to learn more about that. But I am not a clinical psychologist. So for reference, I did research. I am definitely not speaking from a clinical perspective. I'm more or less speaking as a parent, and I do a couple of different kinds of videos here. So I talk in some of my videos about the kinds of things that we know about autism and development. And it's really just from the point of view of another parent who was looking for things that could help us as I try to figure out my son's sort of new world as a teen autistic boy. In these other kinds of videos, I talk about what it's like trying to use those theories in our real lives and how really imperfect it can be. So stick around if you want to learn more about that in this video. So if you've seen any of the other videos, I talk a little bit about my son's behavioral problems and really how that's been a huge part of my parenting journey for now. He is awesome, and we do a lot of other kinds of things that we try to focus on, like building his skills and building on his capacity to be his own person and maybe live independently someday, maybe have a job someday. But it has kind of taken over our lives to try to manage his aggression right now. And yes, we do think he's going to grow out of that. And we do think that that's mainly a function of the fact that his body's different and there's testosterone now. And there are other things like emotions and learning about a world that he is seeing differently as a growing person that wants to understand how he belongs in it. And those things are hard for him. And it's leading to some behavioral problems that I think as he figures himself out, both in his own body and mind, he will get better. But right now, it's hard. And we don't have a lot of resources. So some of the videos I've done trying to understand ourselves as parents and how we can get, I don't want to say stronger or better because those terms are relative, but how we can get more tools for adjusting to our kids when they need us, I think has been helpful to me, at least, as I try to work out new things with him, new strategies, new points of view, new ways of working with him or being with him as a mom. So I've done a few videos on co-regulation and how do I learn to co-regulate with him as a teen person, because what he needs in a moment of co-regulation has changed a lot as he's become more independent than when he was a toddler. And I'm still working on that. But those moments of co-regulation come later. They come during an episode when he's having an aggressive meltdown. And what I realize is that leading up to the aggressive meltdown, there's all kinds of things in who I am as a parent that I could be doing and thinking about that are also really important. All of these things matter at the same time. I need to keep an eye on how to co-regulate while also keeping an eye on other things like my parenting style. And I mentioned that at the end of one of the last videos that I was really reflecting on my permissive parenting. And if you haven't seen the video where I talk about the 4 parenting styles, you can check that out now, but there are 4 parenting styles, and the one that you kind of strive for in typical development is authoritative parenting, and that's also true. I think people have thought in the literature that it's also true for autistic children. You want to be this balance of setting boundaries while also guiding, giving children independence to learn and grow and develop, but also being there to support, but also letting them know that they can't just do whatever they want while giving them room to be curious. It's kind of this balancing all the things approach to parenting. Excuse me, I've got the worst allergies right now. But then there's neglectful parenting where you basically don't give them any attention. And then there's authoritarian parenting where you are way too strict. And then there's permissive parenting where you let them do whatever they want and you're a little bit flighty. And I think that's kind of how I am. But I did it on purpose in a way with my son. And I had an approach to him that didn't set a lot of boundaries. And it was intentional because he was autistic. He is autistic. And he engaged so little with us and the world that when he showed any interest, any curiosity whatsoever, I wanted him to have my full attention whenever he showed an interest in me. Even if I was in the middle of work, in the middle of something important, I stopped. I directed all my attention to him. And that was a cue to him that he could always have me when he needed me. And when he showed an interest in a thing that he wanted, he had it in a store, from another person, from me or his dad. Even if it was something I valued and was important to me, it was his to have. Even if it was something expensive that we couldn't afford, I found a way to give it to him, and I did those things because I wanted him to have anything that he showed the slightest bit of curiosity that might get him to engage in the world or in another person. And it was just my effort to keep him with us, to keep him awake and present as somebody who would shut down so easily. And I didn't want to lose him, mentally. So I created a situation where he could have whatever he wanted, even if he didn't ask for it. If he just looked at something in a way that I thought meant he could possibly want it, it was his. And now he thinks that's the way the world is. He thinks anything could be his. There are no boundaries between what other people own and what's his, what other people have and what's his. How he wants things to be is what he expects to have. And I set that up in his mind, So in a lot of ways, he's spoiled. And in any other situation, a child who is not autistic and had a parent who did that would be very spoiled. So there's that. But that is exacerbated by the fact that he is extremely compulsive. A feature of his autism is compulsive disorder as well. And he is not able to stop thinking about a thing. So when he wants something, the compulsion kicks in. And, it's a mental disorder. He is not able to stop thinking about this thing that he wants, that he's being denied. And it consumes him. He cannot function until this thing that he's thinking about is in his hand, or he has been given it, or he has been able to do it. If it's a thing he wants to do, he just can't function. And it's not him throwing a fit. It's not him being spoiled at that point. It is a thing he can't get out of his mind. And when I say can't get out of his mind, I mean he cannot function. He will stop eating. He will stop talking. He will not get out of bed. He shuts down. It's like he is not even there anymore. He is a zombie. I can't reach him. I don't even know how to explain it. He stops being a person until he's able to have this thing or do this thing. It's a depression like I've never seen before when he enters this compulsive state. The only thing that he can say is this thing that he wants or wants to do, wants to have, that he's been denied because he's compulsive about it. If he doesn't enter this sort of depressive, almost catatonic state over it, then he becomes aggressive and attacks. So it's one of those two things that happens when he doesn't get the thing that he wants. So it's partly that he's spoiled and expects to have a thing, but then the compulsion kicks in, and then his brain can't stop circling around it until his body gets into this state of either catatonic sort of behavior or aggressive behavior. And then he's a teenage boy who already has impulse control, because developmentally our brains are not fully, our frontal lobe is not fully developed. So teenagers have a problem with managing their impulses. So it's just part of our human anatomy. And also, people with autism have been shown to have the same kind of problems with controlling their impulses, or some people have, not all people with autism, but it can be a feature of autism. So he can also have problems controlling his impulses. So when he wants a thing and can't have it, and it gets the impulse to show frustration through aggression, he can't control the impulse. So then the aggression just escalates uncontrollably because he can't control the impulse to be aggressive. So all those things together create this explosive picture, and it's layered and it's complex. And it's hard to figure out what we can do about it, right? There's the compulsiveness, there's the autism, there's the impulse control, there's the aggressive tendencies. I don't know what part of all of those things are his personality, are mental illness, are the autism, are just being a teenage boy, are the spoiled sort of tendencies that I created, are my parenting behaviors. What of all those things can be controlled behaviorally, can be controlled with medication, can be controlled by my parenting, can be controlled by his personality? There's so many factors. It's such a complex picture. So even before we get to the point of having to co-regulate together an episode of aggression, there are all these things that can lead up to the aggressive episode. And I know that one specific circumstance that will almost always lead up to an aggressive episode is denying him something that he wants. And one of those things right now specifically is kids' meals. Kids' meals and plush toys, like Build-A-Bears especially. Those two things are, one, sending us into bankruptcy, and two, a thing that he wants almost daily. A kids' meal he wants daily. And a Build-A-Bear or other plush toy that he collects off the internet, he wants almost every week. Every week for sure, sometimes more than once a week. And we are almost never able to say no, and trying to figure out the ways that we can redirect. So we have these three, I think, instances. We have, one, the point at which we can co-regulate the behavior once we're already there. Two, all of the things that lead up to that behavior, which we know the instance at which we deny him something. But then there's the why does he so desperately want those two things, either the kids' meal or the plush toy? What are those two things filling for him? What is the need that he has that those two things fill for him that we can't replace? What is he getting from them that he needs to have them so desperately? I think those are three areas that I need to be looking at that could help us here. So when I'm at co-regulation, because we're always there, I have to figure that piece out, because we're not able to not get to an episode of aggression. So I need to know how, when we're in that place, to co-regulate with him. So I'm already looking at that. And then backtracking from there is the place at which I deny him something that gets us to an episode. It's such a complex picture. The idea of him not being able to control an impulse to aggression, him having this compulsion where he can't disengage from wanting the thing that he wants, him being so spoiled because of my parenting behavior, and him having this sort of impulse control where he can't stop himself from the aggressive behavior. It's so complex. The only piece of that I can control is how I'm responding to him as a permissive parent. Can I do anything to change that pattern in which I give in to avoid being hit, or, to avoid the violence, or to avoid his depressive pattern when he doesn't get something? He either gets aggressive or gets depressive. And I want to avoid both of those, so I give in. Can I do anything to change my permissive tendencies in that dynamic? And we are caught in a loop because he knows that I want to avoid those behaviors from him. So I say yes. And I know that if I say yes, I will avoid those behaviors. So I say yes. And we will just go round and round like that forever. So can I do anything to break that dynamic in my own parenting style? Because that's the only thing I can control right now in that whole complex picture right there that I just painted. That's the only thing that I can look at. So in that sort of the three-piece picture, the bigger thing that I said, where there is, getting to that co-regulation stage, this dynamic where there's two things that he wants and we always give in to giving them to him. And then even further back, why is it that he has to have those two things? What is he trying to fill in his life? I'm still in this part B here, having those two things that he has to have and not getting them. What can I do as a parent to change my parenting style there? Is there anything I can do? I'm stuck right there right now. Can I do something to work with that? I think I'm going to start observing, because I know that when I pick him up after school, it immediately starts with the kids' meal. What are we going to do today? What do I get today? Can we go here? Can we go there? I want this. I want that. So maybe I can record that in the car, just turn on my camera on the dashboard and start immediately looking at us. At what point do I give in? Because I always do. What is it that makes me say yes? What does he do that I take as a cue that he's ready to explode? And I just say yes at that moment. When do I become fearful, or when do I become hesitant? Because I know that I'm going to say yes. Do I do it right away? What have I read in his face? I want to really observe us, because I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to take an objective look at what I'm doing and try to interrupt my pattern the best I can. Because we're 15 years in on this. I mean, he was diagnosed at a year old. So we're 14 years in on my behavior here. And I need to take a good look at where we are now, where I am now, why I'm stuck in this place where I cannot say no. And is it really worth continuing this pattern? Can I put up with what happens when I say no a few times for him to learn that it's not the end of the world? And after I start investigating this a little bit, after I'm able to analyze and figure out our pattern, maybe I can figure out where do we really need help from somebody else that can find a point of entry into our pattern where we need the medication maybe, or where we need another behavioral therapist, or where I need help to really get this under control. Because we can't keep buying kids' meals forever, and we can't keep buying Build-A-Bears forever. I mean, I am drowning in Build-A-Bears in this house. It is bad. I'll take pictures one day and you guys can laugh at us, because it is bad. And then at some point, when I've had a chance to work through parts B and C, co-regulation and parenting styles, we really need to think about why he has to have these two things so badly. Because I think it's emotional. I think they're giving him something that he's missing somewhere else, and maybe he's feeling control over his life in some way, or he's filling a need. I know he's lonely. I know he's sad in a lot of ways. And maybe these things are giving him something that I need to find a way to give him somewhere else. But we're not there yet. We're just not. There's some other things we need to pull under control first. We're kind of in putting out the fire stage right now, because we can't take any more of this aggression. All right, I will check in with you guys as I take notes on this and observe what we're doing, and give you guys updates on what I think is happening and what I'm seeing. Thank you. I'll see you next time. If you want to hear about this and follow along, like and subscribe. Comment below if you have questions or you want to hear about things in particular, or you have ideas. I want to hear from you too, because I don't know what I'm doing all the time. And stay safe. Take care of each other out there.